Today I'm going to begin a series on female narcissists. More of us have been affected by them than you might think. For today, we're going to talk about female narcissists in a romantic relationship. So, let's get started. Closed captioning provided by Athena Moberg and cptsdfoundation.org. My name's Angie Atkinson, and on this channel I offer free daily video coaching to help you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. I like to call it toxic relationship rehab. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and let's get going. So we're going to start off by talking about the qualities of a female narcissist. Those include things like always wanting to be the center of attention. And this is true for not just her romantic partner, but also her best friend, her mother, her sister, her brother, everybody in her life. She wants to be the center of attention. And as we talk about narcissistic mothers in the next video, I'll explain to you how that affects her children as well. A narcissistic female is far more likely to use her sexuality to get attention as well as to manipulate a person. This is true for straight females and gay females and every female in between. While those who are just histrionic tend to do that, they use their sexuality to get what they want, narcissistic females are far more dangerous than your standard histrionic female. Why is that? It's because this female will use her sexuality, her appearance across the board, indiscriminately. This narcissistic female will use her femininity, her beauty, whatever she has going for her across the board to get what she wants. This could be getting a job. This could have to do with her boyfriend or her husband, getting him to say it's okay that she spent an extra $50 or $50,000, whatever it is in their situation. It's all about using their sexuality to get what they want. A narcissistic female will have no sense of boundaries. She will step all over yours and everyone else's, and sometimes she'll even make you think that's what you wanted in the first place. They have this shocking lack of empathy, just like every other narcissist, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I've talked about that a lot, but in general, narcissistic females' lack of empathy kind of throws you because even sometimes they're like the caregiver type, so they really seem very empathetic, but when you look closer, you realize they're just doing what they think they need to do to get what they want from you. At the very moment that you don't agree with them or do what they want you to do, they punish you subtly, and sometimes not so subtly. So there are a lot of other qualities of narcissistic females, and we're going to talk about those. In fact, I'm going to share with you some clips from a live stream that I did with Dana recently where we talked about this very thing. So take a look. So just in general, how often do you hear people talk about female narcissists?
What's interesting about that is I hear it more so in terms of like narcissistic mothers.
Yeah.
And not so, I think more and more with the awareness and everything, more men or gay women are coming forward and talking about their experiences like in the dating world with female narcissists. But I think by and large, that's like this huge kind of unexplored or unexamined territory where a lot of this problematic behavior just gets glossed over or justified as, for any variety of reasons, like, oh, she's just difficult because she's attractive, or she's just difficult because she's a woman, right? Or because she's a redhead, or for any number of reasons, and it's not correctly identified. Or maybe even kind of quote unquote misdiagnosed or misread as borderline personality.
Yes.
I've seen that like a lot clinically where it's like, oh, she's borderline. And it's like, you know what? She might have a lot of like borderline traits, but like there's this huge level of like narcissistic or even antisocial behavior. And I think when people misidentify it as borderline, then it keeps the person stuck thinking like, oh, if they can just get into DBT, they'll be fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's your experience been?
Well, I think you're spot on when you say that more narcissistic mothers are, brought to the forefront than just women in dating situations. But like you said, with awareness comes awareness. I think for one thing, men in general, I think they're less likely to admit even to themselves that they are being abused when it's just emotional. But not that it's just emotional, but when there's no physical abuse, but even when there's some physical abuse from woman to man or even man to man, I think they are less likely to say, I've been abused in general. What do you think? Is that possible?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Or they minimize it. I think this is common for anybody that's even in like a physically abusive relationship. Like they'll downplay, like, oh, if they're getting pinched or shoved or slapped or even hit periodically, to kind of minimize it. Especially, I think that the challenge is if the abuser is smaller than the target, then it's sort of like, well, why didn't you stand up for yourself? Or why didn't you do anything? Or why did you stay? And And most of the time it's out of fear that this person's actually going to leave if they assert themselves, or they're afraid that their behavior is going to escalate and that they are going to kill them.
Yeah.
Or any number of reasons. And so much of abuse, unless it's extreme, like outrageous, like daddy of five kind of stuff, like to that level of like emotional and psychological abuse, it flies under the radar of most people. But I will say, actually, I take that back. Even with the daddy of five stuff, if you go and you look at the comments for a lot of his videos and videos from like Philip DeFranco that was trying to out him, people were still justifying it.
Oh yeah.
So this stuff, unless a person's being like extremely beaten up and put in the hospital, it just doesn't register as abuse. And that's a problem. And that's why we're here. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think another thing that we forget about sometimes, men are biologically different than women. It's a lot harder for a man to use sexuality against a woman. Not always, but I mean, in general, especially with a woman that he doesn't know that well, where a woman, unfortunately, it's much easier for some women to use their sexuality to control a man. And I think that right there is why a lot of men, and I'm speaking from understandings gained from clients, as well as lots of research. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what I see is a lot of guys being controlled by sexuality. A lot of them will even say to me that they don't even enjoy the act, the woman, but clearly performs it as a way to control the man. I don't think this would be the same in a lesbian relationship, although I could be off on that. But I think that component of that relationship between an unhealthy woman and a non-narcissistic man, I think it puts him at a distinct disadvantage and also makes him think that he has more say-so than he does. What do you think about that?
I think any manipulator or abuser, to me, the term is synonymous, because you can't have one without the other, especially if we're talking long-term dynamic. But manipulative people are going to try to control others through whatever power or perceived power that they might have.
I agree.
So it might be physical strength. It might be their sexuality. It might be guilt. It might be fear. You know, if the manipulator is your boss,
truth,
fear, right? Like fear of losing your job, or if they continue to say that they're going to divorce you every time you bring up an issue, fear of like losing the relationship. But sexuality is a big one. And I would say that is a more unique thing. The sexuality part of it all is also fairly prevalent with gay men.
True. Good
but point. Like a straight male to female hetero type relationship, the sexuality that men do is that they will oftentimes they don't necessarily lead with their sexuality, but they lead a lot with that love bombing.
Absolutely.
And they really go to great efforts to sell the fantasy of this romance is more what they lead with. Like women, it's sex and sexuality. Men, it's more of the love bombing and the romance. And both of them, even though they come across differently, they both tend to put on this like huge performance in bed.
Yes.
And it can lead a person to feeling like, oh my gosh, like this sexual chemistry is off the charts. And then when these relationships end, this profound level of sadness of feeling like I'll never find somebody like that again, not realizing that you didn't have this amazing chemistry with them. It was all manufactured chemistry, and they were puppeteering it, because a normal person is not going to they might try to be a good lover, but they're not going to go to great lengths to try to win an Oscar for it.
Exactly.
You know, and a narcissist will.
Right. And on that same token, there have been tons of studies done on like healthy couples where the female, in order to feel sexually connected to a man, must feel emotionally connected to that man. And the male, in order to feel connected to a female, and again, I'm on hetero relationships here, must feel sexually connected to her in order to feel emotionally connected. So of course it falls that way. You know what I mean? So to a woman, great sex is a result of a great emotional connection in general. And to a man, great emotional connection is a result of great sex. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. I mean, women tend to release a lot of oxytocin during sex. Men do too, but only really if they're in love. So there's different biological kind of components at play, but man, just the manipulation factor alone is just, I think it almost overrides biology, because it just twists things up so much with like what's real and what's manufactured and how a person feels. Like they might feel totally different in another situation if all the manipulation wasn't at play. And I mean, most people, you probably encountered this too, like after these relationships end, a lot of people are like, you know, what's weird is I was never even really that attracted to the person in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then they start realizing, like, how did I even get here? Like, you know, and it was really the narcissist was just exploiting all of their vulnerabilities. And they didn't realize that they had vulnerabilities that were being exploited.
All right, this brings me to the question of the day. The question of the day is, have you ever dealt with a female narcissist, and how did that work out for you? What did it look like for you? Share your thoughts, share your ideas, share your experiences in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. Let me just offer a really quick shout out to my amazing inner circle, the people who clicked that join button or the link in the description below if your device isn't compatible, and who are supporting my mission here at YouTube. Take a look. Thank you to my amazing channel members, Angela Falsetta, Susan Marion, Roxanne Antle, Deborah, Black Caesar, Life's Revival, Trisha Wolf, Jen Archer, James F., and Marlene. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate that you connected with me and that you're helping me to further my mission and to continue helping our Spanily and anyone who needs help to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships. Thank you so much. All right, that's all I've got for you right now. But as always, thank you so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life. And thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, before I go, make sure you take a look at the videos I'm leaving for you right there and right there. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button right there so we can stay connected and continue on this healing journey together. I'll see you soon.